Ever wonder what would happen if, like, you got an AI researcher, right? Andy, a philosopher, sat them down together, maybe over coffee, and said, okay, tell me about the future,
That'd be a fascinating conversation.
right? Well, get ready to listen in because that's kind of the vibe of this deep dive. We're looking at this excerpt, The Ultimate Goals for Humanity and AI. It gets pretty meta pretty fast.
It really does. Right from the start, the essay throws out this huge E question.
Yeah,
How do we even begin to figure out, like, set goals for AI, especially when we're still trying to figure out our own goals as humans?
it's true. And speaking of goals, one of the first things the essay does is lay out these two big models, I guess you could call them, that societies often use, truth-seeking and order-seeking.
Yeah, it's almost like a spectrum,
Yeah.
and finding that balance point in the middle, that's the real challenge. On the one side, you've got things like, well, science, constantly pushing boundaries, always questioning. That's truth-seeking at its core.
Always searching for those answers.
Exactly. But then on the other side, you have like systems, institutions, even governments,
Yeah.
things that are all about stability and, keeping things running smoothly. That's where that order-seeking drive comes in. And of course, both are important in their own ways, but they can also, clash big time.
For sure. And it gets even trickier when you throw AI into the mix. I mean, the essay even mentions Elon Musk. He's all about AI being this truth-seeking, almost like oracle, uncovering all these hidden truths. But is that always a good thing?
It's a really interesting question because on the surface, sure, it sounds great, right?
Yeah.
An AI that can unlock all these new discoveries, push the boundaries of knowledge, amazing. But then you have to ask, at what cost?
Right. Like, what if those truths disrupt everything?
Exactly. What if it turns our understanding of history, of ourselves, completely upside down? I mean, could we handle that kind of upheaval?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's something the author of this essay seems to wrestle with, too. They talk about how they're drawn to that truth-seeking model, but at the same time, they're aware of the need to handle those truths carefully, responsibly.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, let's go for it. Let's push those boundaries and seek knowledge. But
But let's not be naive about it.
exactly, especially with something as powerful as AI, it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between embracing progress and, making sure we don't completely throw our social structures into chaos. So how do we find that sweet spot? How do we pursue these big truths without, you know, throwing the entire system into chaos?
Right. Like, where do we even begin?
Well, the essay points to one crucial element, especially when it comes to AI staying current. And I don't mean just having the latest gadgets, although I'm sure that doesn't hurt. I'm talking about the actual data that we're feeding these AI systems, the stuff that's driving their decision making.
Because if the information's outdated, then the decisions are going to be, well,
Let's just say those decisions won't be winning any awards for accuracy or fairness for that matter. This is where things get, well, a little less theoretical and a lot more real world.
absolutely. We're not just talking about some abstract philosophical debate here. This is about the very real impact of AI on people's lives.
Right. I mean, imagine trying to navigate a city using a map from like 50 years ago.
You'd be hopelessly lost.
Exactly. And with AI, those wrong turns have real consequences. Think about AI systems that are making decisions about job applications, loan approvals,
Yeah.
even criminal justice.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If those systems are relying on outdated data that's riddled with the biases of the past, then we're not just talking about inefficient systems, we're talking about perpetuating harmful stereotypes, inequalities.
Almost like we're baking those biases into the very fabric of these technologies.
And that's a really scary thought. It makes you realize how much responsibility we have to get this right.
It's not just about the algorithms, it's about the information that's driving them.
And it gets even more complicated when you consider that the essay also talks about, get this, incorporating human perception and emotions into AI.
Okay, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even begin to teach a machine about something as messy and subjective as human emotion?
It's a huge challenge, and the essay doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but it does raise a really important point. Humans aren't purely rational beings. We make decisions based on intuition, gut feelings, things we can't even always explain.
Absolutely.
And those things, as irrational as they might seem, they hold valuable insights.
It's like that saying, the heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of.
Exactly. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get AI to understand not just the what of our thinking, but the why?
Yeah, because if we could do that, I mean, could we create systems that are not just intelligent, but truly aligned with human values?
It's a fascinating question, and one that takes us even deeper into this whole debate about AI self-correction.
Right. Okay, so before the break, we were kind of touching on that. And I got to say, it kind of freaked me out.
It's a big one.
It
Yeah.
is. Because we're not talking about AI suddenly becoming sentient, right?
Right.
Like developing a conscience or something.
No, it's not about that. It's more about giving AI systems the ability to, well, I guess you could say self-diagnose, to look at their own programming, their own methods, and identify when those methods might be leading to, let's just say, less than ideal outcomes.
Interesting. So kind of like a constant process of self-improvement.
Exactly, like the scientific method on steroids.
Always testing, analyzing, adapting.
Precisely. And just like the scientific method has led to incredible breakthroughs for humanity, think about what AI could achieve with that kind of constant self-correction.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. But then you get to that question the essay brings up, right? The one about whether AI could ever redefine its own goals. And even more importantly, should we let it? That's where things start to feel a little, well, less exciting and a lot more potential existential threat, wouldn't you say?
It's a valid concern because it forces us to confront a fundamental question. What role do we want AI to play in our future? Are we comfortable with a world where machines have the autonomy to not only carry out tasks, but to set their own agendas?
And what happens if those agendas don't align with our own?
Exactly. And that's why this whole conversation about AI and its potential impact on democracy is so important.
AI and democracy. Two things you don't always hear in the same sentence.
It's funny, right? But when you really think about it, technology has always played a role in shaping how we govern ourselves.
That's true, actually.
I mean, think about it. The printing press, right? Back in the day, that was a game changer. Spreading ideas, fueling revolutions. Then you've got the radio, connecting people during times of war, giving them a voice.
Right.
The tools we use to communicate, they always end up shaping how we engage in these big systems, these power structures. And AI has the potential to be the most transformative tool yet.
Okay, so I'm definitely intrigued, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little,
Sure.
nervous too. We've all seen those sci-fi movies where the AI takes over, and it's not exactly a win for democracy. So how do we make sure we're using this tech for good? To strengthen those democratic ideals, not...
Not become slaves to the machines.
Exactly.
It's the question, right?
Yeah.
And this essay, I have to give them credit, they bring up some really interesting points. On the one hand, you have this potential for AI to give power back to the people. Like imagine AI cutting through all the noise, all the misinformation out there and just delivering straight facts tailored to you.
Okay, now that would be amazing.
Right. Or think about platforms using AI to encourage like healthy debate, bridging those divides instead of making them worse.
So instead of all the echo chambers, the filter bubbles, it would be like...
Like a digital public square.
Yes, with AI as the moderator, making sure everyone gets a fair hearing.
Exactly. And it's not just about access to information either. The essay also talks about AI being used to hold those in power accountable.
Oh, interesting.
Like, imagine systems that can sift through mountains of data, and pinpoint corruption or inefficiency.
That's the kind of AI I can get behind, holding those in power accountable.
Right. But, and this is a big but, the essay doesn't just paint this rosy picture. It also acknowledges the very real dangers, the potential for AI to be used to manipulate people, erode trust, even rig elections.
Yeah, that's the dark side, isn't it?
It is. And we can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend it's not a possibility. We have to talk about it. Because AI can be a tool for good or a naff. It can be used by the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Think about it. AI-powered surveillance. Algorithms that target you with propaganda, with these messages designed to divide us, make us distrust each other, make us distrust our institutions.
It's scary to think about.
It is. And it comes back to that point we were making earlier about responsibility, the choices we're making now, about how we develop this tech, how we use it. They're going to echo through generations. And remember that anecdote about Steve Wozniak, the Apple co-founder?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
He was talking about, how he wonders if humans might end up like pets to our AI overlords.
Right. A little unnerving.
To say the least. But it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, we can't just sit back and let this happen to us. We have to be in the driver's seat.
So what do we do? Where do we even begin?
Well, for starters, we have to ask ourselves some tough questions about what we value, about the world we want to create. Because in a way, figuring out AI, it's really about figuring out ourselves. What does it mean to be human in a world where machines can think?
That's a great question. and a perfect place to wrap things up, I think. But we want to keep this conversation going. So tell us, what do you think? If you could give AI one ultimate goal, what would it be? And just as importantly, why? Let us know in the comments. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.